Did you seriously think that we were done with Sakurafaces after Melt, Passion Lip, and King Protea? Nope, the year of Sakura continues and we're approaching the climax. Hello everyone, Soberoni of G&A Reviews here, bringing you a servant spotlight for the servant that gives new meaning to the term Fatal Attraction, Kama. We'll be examining her stats and skills, as well as going over pointers on how to utilize her effectively, and an overall grade, comparing her to how she stacks up to the other 5-star servants. So if you're excited to find out which Kama is best Kama, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and ring my bell so that you can catch all of these spotlight videos as they go up, and you can help out the channel. Now, on to Kama's stats. Kama has a max HP of 12,889 and a max attack of 11,528, which becomes 10,375 due to her assassin class modifier. Stat-wise, Kama falls right in the middle of the pack among the 5-star assassins, having average attack and average HP. Compared to the other 5-star servants overall, however, her HP and attack are quite low. When it comes to her command cards, Kama has 4 hits on her quick card, 3 hits on her arts, 4 hits on her buster, and 5 hits on her extra card. She has an NP gain rate of 0.74% and a star rate of 25%. Overall, Kama is a balanced servant whose stat spread doesn't lean too heavily toward offense or defense. Her NP gain and star generating are also both above average, mostly due to her high hit counts. Taking a look at her skills, Kama's first skill is Blessing of the Goddess rank B. This reduces one ally's max HP by 1000 as a demerit, but in exchange increases their overcharge by 1 stage for 1 time, lasting 3 turns. It also recovers Kama's HP between 2000 and 4000 depending on level. Her second skill is Ananga Ranga rank EX. This skill grants Kama a one-time guts that revives her with between 1000 and 2000 HP, and it also increases her own attack strength for 3 turns between 20 and 30%, both depending on level. And finally, Kama's last skill is Mara Papayas rank EX. This increases her NP gauge between 30 and 50%, and also decreases an enemy's charm resist between 20 and 40%, both depending on level. In addition, it also grants Kama class advantage against alter ego servants for 3 turns, and increases her own crit strength by 20% for 3 turns. Moving on to her passives, Kama has magic resistance rank A, which increases her debuff resist by 20%, riding rank A, which increases her quick card effectiveness by 10%, independent manifestation rank C, which increases her crit damage by 6%, and increases her own mental debuff resistance and instant kill resistance by 6%, and finally, Essence of the God of Love rank B, which increases her damage by 225 and grants her charm immunity. As for her deck and Noble Phantasm, Kama has a Buster Quick deck with Quick Arts Buster and a Quick Noble Phantasm. Her Noble Phantasm is Kama Samahana, which deals significant damage to a single enemy with between a 1200 and 2000% damage modifier depending on level. It also has an 80% chance to inflict charm on the enemy, and it increases Kama's own quick card effectiveness for 3 turns between 20 and 40% depending on overcharge. I hope you've all been saving up your rare materials, because when it comes to Ascensions, Kama is all about that gold. For leveling, she's going to need 5 Bloodstone Tears, 4 Divine Wines, 6 Mirrors, and 24 Void Dust. Bloodstone Tears can be farmed at Shinjuku 2 Chome in Shinjuku with an 18% drop rate. Divine Wine has a 12% drop rate at the Palace of the Dragon King in Agartha. Mirrors are best farmed at the Rear Mountain in Shimosa, where they have a 12% drop rate, and Void Dust is best found at Charlotte in America with a 64% drop rate. For skill ascension, Kama needs 6 Divine Wines, 9 Bloodstone Tears, 11 Hearts, and 15 Lamps per skill. Hearts are best farmed at the Carter Residence in Salem, where they have a 12% drop rate, and Lamps have a 20% drop rate at the jail in Salem. Kama is without a doubt one of this year's most anticipated servants, and for good reason. Because whether you're into lolies, high school girls, or straight up sexy demon lords, Kama's got you covered. Oh, and she's also pretty strong too. At first glance, Kama's stats don't appear too impressive. She has average stats across the board for an assassin and below average stats for a 5-star servant. Just about the only things that Kama excels at stat-wise are her NP gain and her star generating. But don't let that fool you, because despite her low attack, Kama is one of FGO's most well-balanced and explosive DPS servants, thanks in large part to her skills. Her second skill, Anangaranga, grants her a 30% boost to attack strength and a self-guts that revives her with 2000 HP. The attack buff on this skill is surprisingly good. It may only be 30%, but it does have a decent uptime of 3 turns, and it works very well with the quick buff on Kama's NP and her passive, to really push her quick card damage over the top. But the Guts may be the real star of this skill, because if you notice, there's no cooldown on the Guts effect, which means that once Kama pops this skill, her Guts is going to remain permanently until she dies. So there's no need to worry about timing the skill, and it guarantees that Kama is going to survive at least one fatal attack every battle. Kama also has another unique skill in Blessing of the Goddess. This skill heals Kama for 4000 HP, and it gives a targeted ally one additional stage of overcharge on their Noble Phantasm at the cost of 1000 HP. Now this is a versatile skill with a number of uses. Firstly, Kama can use this skill on herself to improve the quick buff on her Noble Phantasm, but it can also be used more successfully on many supports to improve their overcharge effects. It can also be used as a very strong heal with a short cooldown. Since the demerit only affects the target of this skill, Kama can receive the heal without having to worry about the decrease to her HP, so it does pair very well with her Guts. And finally, her last skill, Mara Papayas, is a 50% NP battery that also increases Kama's crit damage by 20%, lowers enemy charm resist, and gives Kama class advantage over alter egos. This is a lot of strong effects to cram into one skill, with no demerit and considerably short cooldown. The 50% NP charge is by far the most powerful effect, enabling Kama to more easily spam out her NP whenever necessary, even on turn 1 with some CEs. But the charm resist down is also powerful because it combos well with the charm effect on Kama's NP, which allows her to easily stun most enemies. The crit buff, while small, is also not bad considering how strong of a star generator Kama is. She is going to be critting a lot, so that extra bit of damage is noticeable. And finally, while incredibly niche, the bonus damage against alter egos effectively makes Kama the best counter to alter egos in the game, and she absolutely shreds them. For skill leveling, go with her NP charge first since that's her most important skill, followed by Guts for the additional attack buff, and then Blessing of the Goddess last since the heal is not as vital. Kama's Noble Phantasm is a single target quick attack that buffs her quick card effectiveness prior to damage and also charms the enemy. A simple but devastatingly strong NP. Thanks to Kama's passive, the quick buff on her NP is actually 30% at Overcharge 1 instead of 20%. And that's a sizable buff, especially when paired with her attack buff. In fact, Kama has one of the highest damaging NPs among all of the assassins. And what's scary about that is that she can easily spam it. Kama's huge NP charge, her ability to crit easily from the stars that she generates, her good NP gain, and the 10 hits on her NP make it incredibly easy for her to NP on back-to-back turns, even with minimal setup. And because her quick buff on Noble Phantasm lasts for 3 turns, it can even stack with itself. So every subsequent Noble Phantasm from Kama is going to be stronger than the last. And because Kama's quick buff is so massive, it's easy for her to reach over 100% additional quick damage so long as she's able to NP enough. But even outside of the extreme DPS that she can deliver from her NP spam, Kama can also deliver effective damage from just her face cards, due to her high uptime attack buff, her supercharged quick cards, and the fact that she gets a lot of quick and buster crits. When you have a servant with this much explosive power, you'd expect that they'd be fragile defensively to compensate, but Kama is no glass cannon. As I mentioned earlier, she has a permanent Guts on her second skill, so she can survive any one fatal hit and revive with 2000 HP. But beyond that, she also has a short cooldown heal, so even if Kama gets one-shotted by an enemy Noble Phantasm, she can revive, heal herself up to half HP, and then pop another Guts. Kama is heavily susceptible to buff removal though, which is something to keep in mind given how common buff removal is in many late game boss fights and challenge quests. While Kama has a versatile skill set and playstyle, she isn't the most flexible in terms of team comp. She pretty much exclusively wants to be on quick teams paired with supports who can either buff her quick cards or her crit damage. For a more traditional quick team, I recommend supporting Kama with allies who can provide her with NP charge or buffs to her quick card effectiveness, like Assassin of the Nightless City, Alexander, and Helena. Assassin and Alexander provide very strong, high uptime buffs to help Kama out even more with her DPS, while Helena's NP charge is helpful when trying to spam out Kama's Noble Phantasm. And of course, I should mention that Kama easily loops with Scotty as well. If crit DPS is more of your thing, then pair Kama with supports who can buff her crit damage, like Chiron, Osakabe Hime, and Santa Altera. Chiron and Osakabe Hime have two of the best crit buffs in the game on very low cooldown, and they can also buff Kama's quick cards. Santa Altera has a weaker crit buff, but she can help out a lot with star generating and NP charge. Kama's Bond CE is Floral Arrow. It increases the party's quick card effectiveness by 15% and crit damage by 20%, except for herself. And this is absolutely not worth using at all, since Kama is not a support, and this doesn't give her any additional damage. So instead of that, go with craft essences that buff quick card effectiveness or NP damage, like Black Grail, Imaginary Around, or Someday in Summer. If you're gonna go with a crit build, then go with craft essences that can bolster crit damage, like Gem Magecraft, Three Anglers, Princess Pilgrimage, and Detective Edmund. In the future, you should be on the lookout for Traces of Christmas, which we will be getting this Christmas. It's basically a better Someday in Summer that gives more damage and NP gain. And finally, for command codes, Phantasmal Horse is an excellent choice on Kama because it buffs crit damage on quick cards. Overall, Kama is not only arguably the best assassin that FGO has to offer, but also one of the game's best overall DPS servants as well. She is able to unleash consistently high damage via her NP spam and her powerful crits. Her ability to stack quick buffs gives her some of the strongest quick cards in the game. She is one of the only servants who's capable of truly countering alter egos, and despite having her heavy offensive capabilities, she is far from fragile, and she can stick around for longer fights thanks to her guts and her heal. She can be a little inflexible with team composition, and she does have issues with buff removal, but those are very minor problems on an otherwise stellar servant. So Kama gets an S from me. Kama basically has all of the upside of the other top tier quick servants like MHX Alter, Melt, and Jack, without any of their drawbacks. And those are my thoughts on Kama. Hopefully everyone has saved up enough quartz, and if you're planning on rolling for her, I wish you good luck. Also, first ascension is best ascension. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing if you really enjoyed the video. Join the party over at our Discord, chill with us on Twitch, and follow us on Twitter. And I'll see you all in the next Servant Spotlight. Soberoni out. Later.